Hello my dear students, I am so happy you have opted for geography because geography is one subject where you learn a lot of about environment. Today we are moving on to the next chapter. The name of the chapter is soil. Children, when you look around you, what do you admire? Trees, flowers, fruits. Where do they grow? They grow on soil. Don't you think soil is very important for us? Today in this chapter, we will gain knowledge about the importance of soil, its conservation, why the soil is getting degraded, how many years does it take to form soil, and what are the different types of soils found in India. So, let us start with the most important layer of the earth's crust. The topmost layer of the earth is the one which contains soil. Soil is a valuable resource. Why? Because all the trees, plants, we depend on it for the growth. The human beings, they get their raw material from it by agriculture. That means we are dependent on it both directly and indirectly. Directly when we grow crops, indirectly when we achieve a lot of raw materials to fulfill our day-to-day needs, isn't it? Now, how do you think this soil gets formed? There are various factors which lead to formation of soil. Children, you have studied in your fundamentals book the different agents of gradation, namely river, running water, wind, sea waves, etc. And you have also heard the term weathering. What does weathering mean? Weathering means disintegration and decomposition of rocks. So, when the rocks they break into pieces, the soil is formed. It takes thousands and thousands of years to make a fertile soil. So, the major factors affecting the formation of soil are relief, parent rock. What is a parent rock? The rock from which the soil is formed. For example, from igneous and metamorphic rocks, black soil is formed. From sedimentary rocks, alluvial soil is formed. So, huge red crystalline rocks, they lead to the formation of red soils. But of course, rainfall, climate, temperature, vegetation, they also play a very important role. In the areas where the temperature goes down during the night, so the rocks they get contracted. During daytime, the rocks expand with the sunlight, so the rocks get loosened and the rocks they break. Beside these factors, even the human activities, they also influence to a large extent. And of course, the components of the soil are the mineral particles, humus, water and air. Now, if you see this picture, this image, these are the different layers of the soil which are known as soil profile. Let's talk with the lowermost layer. If you see the lowermost layer, we see only rocks. As you come higher towards the crust, the rocks they break. See, even the roots of the plants, they are protruding itself, breaking the rocks. So, this arrangement of layers is known as soil profile. Let us study about the three horizons of the soil profile. Horizon A is the topmost layer where we have organic materials, the topmost layer. It also has nutrients which are very necessary for the growth of plants. How does this horizon A get formed? It is formed by horizon B and horizon C. The second layer, which is known as horizon B, is a transition zone. The transition zone between A and C, because it has some material coming from horizon C, it also has some material from horizon A. It also has some organic matter, although the mineral matter is weathered. Weathered means disintegrated. Horizon C, it is composed of loose parent material. I hope the word parent material is clear. Parent material means the rock from which the soil is formed. So, this layer, that is the horizon C, is the first stage in the formation of soil. So, soil formation is a very slow and a gradual process. Now, when we spoke about the varied physical features in lesson number 2, we also discussed about climate in lesson number 3. We also discussed about the drainage, the rivers in lesson number 4. So, all these are the factors which lead to the variety of vegetation which we discussed in lesson number 5. So, all these factors, they have contributed in the development of various types of soils in India, and India has a favorable region, India has a favorable topography for the formation of variety of soils. Now, in ancient times, people, even if they didn't have a lot of technology, they used to classify the soils into two major groups. Urvara means very fertile, Usara means not very fertile. So, depending on their fertility, they used to do agriculture. In 16th century, the soils were classified on the basis of their characteristics. Characteristics means as to what are the nutrients present in the soil, and also according to the external features like texture, whether it is loamy, whether it is hard, whether it is clayey, according to the color, whether it is brown, black, red or yellow, and also on the slope of the land and how much moisture it can hold. So, based on the texture, the main soils are identified as sandy, that means they cannot hold moisture, clayey, clayey means sticky, silty and loamy, that means they have more of conker nodules also. On the basis of color, you also should observe around you as to what is the color of the soil. The color of the soil can be red, yellow, black, etc. Again, the shades vary according to the deposition. It's not that only people are using these soil, even surveys are being done to identify the characteristic features of these soils. Since independence, scientific surveys have been conducted by various agencies. The foremost is the Soil Survey of India, which was established in 1956. They made a lot of detailed study to select the type of soil, and they selected various areas to identify the features of soil. The National Bureau of Soil Survey and the Land Use Planning is an institute under the control of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, and they have done a lot of studies on Indian soil, because this institution helps the farmer to find out the fertility of soil and what type of crops can be grown in that particular region. Now, if you see the map, see these are the different types of soils found in India. If you identify the regions, you must identify these regions according to the topography, according to the relief features, according to the landforms available in that region. So, if you find these soils, try to identify their texture, their color. So, we will be studying about all these types of soils one by one. Now, when we talk about colors, can you see this color on the screen? Light brown, dark brown, yellow, little blackish. So, these are the different types of soils on the basis of genesis, color, composition and location. The first type of soil found in India, which covers a large area in India, they are alluvial soils. Alluvial soils are also known as depositional soils. These soils are brought by the rivers, the three major rivers of India, namely Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So, when these rivers come from the mountains, they move with a great velocity. So, they bring along with them a lot of sediments, silt, alluvium. So, these alluvium, they get deposited in the lower reaches, and hence the alluvial soils are formed. These soils are rich in potash, but they are very poor in phosphorus, although they are very fertile. The color of the alluvial soil varies from light grey to ash grey, and the shade comes because of the depth of the deposition, the texture of the material and the time taken for attaining maturity. These soils are very fertile, so the regions where we have alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. When we talk about alluvial soil, we are linking this soil with the work of the river. So we can say in the upper and middle Ganga plain, there are two different types of alluvial soils found, namely Khadar and Bangar. Children, think, when the river flows, it keeps on depositing sediments. The continuous deposition of sediments takes place. That forms Khadar, which is the new alluvium. When the river widens itself, the river deposits alluvium in the far off reaches in the flood plain. That old alluvium is known as Bangar. Both Khadar and Bangar, they contain calcareous concretions which are also known as kankar. So, alluvial soil, if you see on the map, they are found along the rivers. They are widespread in the northern plains and the river valleys, but they also extend in a narrow corridor in Rajasthan and also plains of Gujarat. Why does this happen? Because we have tributaries of river Ganga, Yamuna spread throughout the northern plains. In the peninsular region, alluvial soils are found in the deltas of the eastern coast. Remember the deltas? Ganga, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri. Now let's talk about the black soil. As the name suggests, they are black in color. So the black color comes from the parent rock. They are generally clayey. Clayey means sticky. They are very deep and impermeable. Impermeable means they do not allow ready seepage of water. That means they can hold moisture for a longer time. During rainy season, they swell and become sticky. During rainy season, they become wet, they swell and they become sticky. That means they can hold moisture for a longer time. During the dry season, they develop wide cracks, which helps in self-plowing. So, when we say they are sticky, they can hold moisture for a longer time, they are good for a variety of crops, especially cotton. They are also known as cotton soils, and the local name given is regur soils. Chemically, if we talk about the black soils, they are rich in lime, iron, magnesia, alumina, but they also contain potash. They do not have phosphorus, nitrogen and organic matter. The color of black soil varies from deep black to grey. So, children, these soils are very intensively cultivated in Gujarat, Maharashtra, parts of Madhya Pradesh. So, this region, when we talk about the black soil region, we call it Deccan Plateau region, the peninsular part. So, upper reaches of the Godavari, Krishna and northwestern part of Deccan Plateau in particular has black soil, which is used for agriculture on large scale. Now, you see what can be the color of soil? Red and yellow. Children, how does the soil become red? It is the presence of iron. How does it become yellow? When it is hydrated, it becomes yellow. The look of the soil looks yellow. So, what is the parent rock of red soil? It is huge crystalline igneous rocks and the regions where we have low rainfall. If we have more rainfall, the rocks will break into minute pieces, but the regions receiving very low rainfall, especially in the eastern and southern part of the Deccan Plateau, the red soils are found. Along the Piedmont zone of the Western Ghat, where the rainfall is less, the long stretch is occupied by red loamy soil. This yellow and red soils are also found in the parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh and southern parts of middle Ganga plain. Now, red and yellow soil, although not very fertile, but they are used for cultivation. The fine grained red and yellow soil, they are fertile and they are used for cultivation of cashew nuts, rice, etc. They are generally poor in nitrogen, phosphorus and humus. Let's talk about laterite soils. Laterite soils are the leached soils. A very easy way to remember is L for laterite, L for leaching. Leaching means when due to heavy rainfall, the upper layer of the soil gets washed away. Laterite word has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. These soils are found in the regions which experience very high temperature and very high rainfall. Due to very high rainfall, intense leaching takes place. So, lime, silica are washed away, leached away. These soils are rich in iron oxide and aluminium compound are left behind. The humus content is of course removed by the fast bacteria which thrives in very high temperatures. So, this leaching due to high rainfall, high temperature leaves this soil less fertile. These soils are poor in organic matter, nitrogen, phosphate and calcium, while iron oxide and potash are in excess. Laterite soil is not suitable for cultivation, but with the help of manures, fertilizers, this soil is being cultivated. Now, where are laterite soils found? Remember, where we have high rainfall and we have high temperature. The regions are Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala. Here also cashew nut is grown in laterite soil. The next type of soil, arid soil, dry soil. If I ask you, what do you visualize when you think of sandy soil? You will say we visualize Rajasthan, isn't it? These soils range from red to brown in color. They are sandy in nature and they are also saline. In some areas, the salt content is so high that common salt is obtained by evaporating saline water. Obtaining salt becomes more important. Because the region does not get rainfall, the region is dry. The region receives very high temperature, the evaporation is high. So, this soil lacks moisture and humus. Nitrogen is also insufficient and the phosphate content is also low. How are these soils formed? Formation in the bottom horizons restricts the infiltration of water. So, when irrigation is made available, the soil moisture is readily available. They are specially developed or they are specially found in the western Rajasthan because of the topography. They are very poor, they contain very less humus and organic matter. Saline soils. What does the name suggest? Salty. Saline soils are also known as Usara soils, less fertile soils, because they contain large proportion of sodium, potassium, magnesium. So, they are infertile and they do not support any type of vegetation. They have more salts because of the dry climate and poor drainage. They are found in the arid and semi-arid regions. The structure ranges from sandy to loamy. They also do not have nitrogen and calcium. So, saline soils are infertile and they are also known as Usara soils which cannot be used for agriculture. Now, let us discuss the features of saline soil. They are found in western Gujarat, deltas of the eastern coast and in particular the Sundarbans delta in West Bengal. During the southwest monsoons, a lot of salt gets deposited by the sea waves and this sea water intrusions in the deltas, they promote occurrence of saline soil. So, children try to understand how the monsoons are also responsible for bringing salinity in the coastal areas of Gujarat. Now, when in agriculture a lot of water is used, that water gets logged. Waterlogging also leads to salinity of soil. During Green Revolution, when assured water supply was given to the farmers to produce good crop, the farmers used a lot of water which led to waterlogging. So, this is also one reason that the fertile alluvial soils, they became saline in Punjab and Haryana. So, excessive irrigation with dry climatic condition, they promote capillary action which results in the deposition of salt on the topmost layer, thereby making the soil less fertile. Let us talk about peaty soils now. Peaty soils are found in the areas of heavy rainfall, high humidity, where there is good growth of vegetation, because abundant rainfall, good humidity promotes vegetative growth. So, large quantities of dead organic matter, it accumulates in the areas, it gets embedded on the soil and gives rich humus content and organic matter to the soil. So, organic matter even goes higher, even up to 40-50%. They are very heavy and black in color. Certain areas they become alkaline. The peaty soils are found in the northern parts of Bihar, southern parts of Uttaranchal and the coastal areas of West Bengal, Odisha and Tamil Nadu. Forest soils. When we talk about forests grow invariably where we have abundant rainfall, good humidity. So, there the leaves of the trees they get mixed into the soil. The soils they vary in structure and texture depending on the topography, especially in the mountainous environment where they are formed. They are loamy, they are silty in the valley sides because the river they deposits them. They are coarse grained in the upper slopes. In the snowbound areas of the Himalayas, they experience denudation. Denudation means degradation. They are washed away by the agents of gradation like glaciers, rivers, etc. And in the snowbound areas, they are also acidic because of the low humus content. But the soils found in the lower valleys, they are fertile because they get deposited in layers one over another. When we talk about soil, children, you know soil is important. The texture, the quality, the nature, it is very vital for the growth of the plants, whether the plants are grown by the farmers or the plants are grown naturally, because they support vegetation. Soils are living systems. Like any other organism, they too develop, they too decay, they too get decayed. They also respond to proper treatment. Like when you fall ill, you are given medicines, you are given proper treatment and you get well soon. Similarly, when the soils get infertile, when the soils get degraded, when we support them with vegetation, with afforestation, they become fertile. When the soils get degraded, denuded, we will have serious repercussions on the other components of the system on which they themselves are important parts, isn't it? So, when we talk about soil, the first thing comes to our mind is soil erosion. Soil erosion means washing away of the topsoil, moving of the topsoil, which can happen due to running water, river, glaciers, wind, human beings, any agent of gradation. So, the destruction of the soil cover is described as soil erosion. Don't you think destruction word seems to be very serious? We have to take care of the soil because the soil forming process is a very slow process. It takes thousands and thousands of years to form fertile soil. But the erosional processes like running water, wind, they keep on moving the soil from one place to another. But soil formation and erosion, they move simultaneously. There is a balance between these two processes. The rate of removal of fine particles from the topmost layer of the earth also adds the soil particles to the other place. Now, let us discuss about the main causes of soil erosion. The balance of this soil is disturbed by the nature and also by the human beings. The human activities are responsible like deforestation for agriculture, for residential houses, for infrastructure, etc. Children, again we require land. Land for making houses, land to bring under agriculture, to provide food and raw material, to make infrastructure, roadways, railways. So, the human activities are also responsible for soil erosion. Now, the grazing of animal, what do the animals do? Overgrazing also leads to soil erosion. Continuous grazing on the same land leaves the land barren. Wind erosion, it is especially significant in the arid and semi-arid regions. Why do we say grow more trees? Because the roots of the trees will hold the soil together, will prevent erosion. Moreover, the wind velocity will get slow with the huge trees. The regions having heavy rainfall, the steep slopes, erosion happens on a large scale. the water erosion during torrential rainfall, which becomes very serious in the slopes of the mountains, which also leads to sheet erosion, gully erosion. What is sheet erosion? When erosion takes place on a very vast area due to running water and the soil removal becomes very evident. So, such areas become infertile and the soil gets degraded. What is gully erosion? Try to visualize running water from a slope of a mountain. The running water makes small streams. The water keeps on flowing on these streams and they develop gully. Once the water is not there, that water looks like ravines. That land looks like ravines. Such an erosion is known as gully erosion. The region with large number of deep gullies is called a badland topography because you cannot utilize that land for any purposes. Ravines are widespread in Chambal Basin and they are also found in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. When we do deforestation, the trees are not there to help us. The trees are not there to prevent soil erosion. Deforestation becomes the foremost cause of soil erosion. The plants, they keep the soil bound in the locks of the roots, so they prevent soil erosion. Forests especially have been degraded, denuded practically in almost maximum part of India, but the effect of the soil erosion is more in the hilly parts of the country. Over irrigation, as I have told you in the saline soils, a fairly large area of arable land which is suitable for cultivation is becoming saline because of over irrigation. The salt accumulated in the lower profiles of the soil comes up to the surface and destroys its fertility. Even the chemical fertilizers, they are degrading the soil. Unless soil gets enough humus, chemicals they harden the soil and it reduces the fertility of the soil. This problem is very common in the command areas of the river valley projects, which were first getting benefits from all these multi-purpose projects and green revolution. So, what should be our strategy? We should be conserving the soil. We should employ more and more measures to prevent soil erosion. So, what is soil conservation? It is a methodology to maintain soil fertility, to prevent soil erosion and to improve the degraded condition of the soil. What are the different methods? Children, you must have done in your previous classes contour plowing, shelter belts, strip cropping, terrace farming. All these are the methods which are used to prevent soil erosion, and the faulty practices should be avoided. The land with a slope gradient of 15 to 25% should not be used for cultivation. Even if we are using it, we should make terraces. Step farming should be done there. Overgrazing should be prevented. We should have proper pastures for the cattle. Even shifting cultivation leads to land degradation, which should not be practiced. The shifting cultivation should be regulated and the farmers, the people, the villagers should be educated about the consequences of shifting agriculture. So, if we practice contour bunding, contour terracing, regulated forestry, controlled grazing, cover cropping, mixed farming, I think we can prevent soil erosion, and soil being our important resource, we can conserve it. There should be efforts to prevent gully erosion by doing afforestation. In bigger gullies, the erosion velocity is more, so it should be reduced by making check dams. Special attention should be made to control headward extension of gullies. So, gullies can be plugged, terraced. So, in arid and semi-arid areas, shelter belts should be made to control desertification, to stop the movement of the sand dunes. Lands not suitable for cultivation should be converted into pastures. So, there are various institutions, those who are helping. Experiments have been made to stabilize the sand dunes in western Rajasthan by the CAZRI, Central Arid Zone Research Institute. So children, we have enough measures to prevent land degradation, soil degradation. The foremost method is afforestation, planting more trees, preventing unscientific methods of cultivation. So, let's all pledge that we will save the soil around us, thereby contributing in the development of our country. Thank you. Jai Hind.